Right. Well, good morning, everyone. This is the 27th of July, 2024. And so good to see people coming in and to have this meeting as normal on our Saturday morning. And today it is my great pleasure for the third talk that you've given us, Bobby Hammond, to introduce Bobby Hammond to you. Bobby is firstly a registered pharmacist, has worked in the field of pharmaceutical testing. He's also a qualified accredited professional health coach, and this qualification is recognized internationally as he has done his training through an accredited UK training organization. Now, here's the impressive bit. He has done 15 half Ironman races and 2 full Ironman races, and currently races in the top 3 in his age group of 60 to 64 nationally for triathlon. You are impressive, Bobby. But best of all, he has been a user and distributor for Neolife products for many years, which he loves recommending to his clients. And then, so this morning, as I just mentioned in before we started recording, I think there's a huge gap out there in knowledge about this thing called the Blue Zone. Netflix has had a documentary, and there's more and more information coming out. And so it is with great pleasure and anticipation, because I don't know much about it either, that I hand over to you, Bob, to please inform us, teach us, and tell us about this thing called the Blue Zones. Thank you.
Right, good morning, everybody. I'm going to share my screen, so let's just hope that comes through quickly enough. I think it's there already, so I'm sure can you see the screen at the moment? Everybody see it okay?
Yes. We can, Bob. You can just push some of the little blocks at the bottom to get the yeah, go. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're learning as we go along. So yeah, so today we're going to talk go through and talk a little bit about the blue zones, and also the blue zones and why they are, so important. So I'm going to just, as I go through, I'm going to talk a little bit quickly about my story, and then looking at the 9 principles of the blue zones and why they matter so much. And then I'm also going to look at some stats. I'm not going to go into huge detail with all of these things, but I'm certainly going to give you an idea, because I think it's important that we understand some of this and the impact that the principles of the blue zones can have. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about health coaching, also how that links in and why that's so important. So just a little bit of my story is that, I've made this turn from a pharmacist to a health coach, and how a lot of it happened, is that early on in my life, I had issues with my health, particularly to do with my stomach, where the doctors eventually decided they had to do some kind of fairly serious surgery on me, which didn't really solve the problem, So I began and started my long journey. I read everything that I could on nutrition and food, and I even at one point tried to be a vegetarian, thought that would work. And the doctors also then decided, no, they wanted to try and reverse this thing they'd done to my stomach. And I'd said no, and effectively just kept learning. And eventually I found my way, which had to do with lifestyle. And you'll understand as we go through how that then, the blue zones and also Neolife, because it's important. As Monica was saying, I've used Neolife products for over 25 years. And I initially became involved with Neolife because I wanted.
It's on Netflix, a documentary.
So we've got some.
Sorry, Bjorn, can you mute?
Sorry. Okay, here we go. I then, as I say, looked at this whole thing of lifestyle and got involved with Neolife and used the Neolife products from the beginning for that very reason. So I had learned through hard experience that it needed to be a holistic approach that I needed to take, rather than just looking at one or two things. So that is how it became, you know, lifestyle. And today is turning, as Monica was saying, I'll to be turning 62 next month. And, you know, I have the health stats pretty much of a 25-year-old. I don't use any chronic medication. I never have, in actual fact. And I can also pretty much outrun most 25-year-olds. And as Monica said, still compete at the highest level in triathlete. And at my age now as well, I'm effectively beginning a new career, taking this almost 360 about turn to become a health coach, backed with the other things and knowledge that I have in terms of being a pharmacist, a sports nutritionist, a gut health practitioner, and also, you know, mindfulness coach, which are all things you can see I've looked at a holistic approach to this whole process. And this is why, for me, the 9 principles of the Blue Zones matter so much. And I'll hopefully show that that matters also to other people. As we, you know, start our lives in the first sort of 20 to 30 years, we're pretty energetic, and we, you know, we've got lots of energy. We don't experience a lot of health problems generally. And then for the next sort of 20 to 30 years, we get to this point where we start feeling a little bit tired, and the niggles start coming in. And unfortunately, then for the following 20 to 30 years and the last years of our lives, most people actually live their lives in a state of not being well. You know, they're sick and they don't have the energy, and they just don't feel good at the end of it. So where do the Blue Zones come from? And, you know, it's interesting, this term Blue Zones is that this guy is an Italian doctor, Gianni Pes, started around about 1999, and he started looking around Italy at where these people were living to, you know, such old ages, 100 years and older. And what he was doing is that, you know, as he had a map of Italy, and he was putting these blue dots with a marker on the white map that he had, and of course it formed like a blue blob. And that's where, strangely enough, this name Blue Zones originated from. And then we get Dan Buettner, who came in and did a whole lot of work for National Geographic, where initially he did around about a 12-year study looking at this phenomenon of 100-year-olds, these people who are living to 100 years of age and more. And, you know, they'd lived that long in control of their faculties, active, healthy lives. They were still active and still, you know, really with it. Most people who live long actually live in sickness, unfortunately. And that's why I'll show you now why the 9 principles of the Blue Zones matter so much at the end of the day. The 5 Blue Zones that they found around the world, or that Dan Buettner identified, was this Loma Linda in California, USA, Nicoya in Costa Rica, Sardinia in Italy, Ikaria in Greece, and then Okinawa in Japan, that he initially identified as the 5 Blue Zones of the world. So what are the 5 Blue Zones of, or rather, what are the 9 principles in short? You know, the first one, this thing of move, just actually moving and getting some kind of exercise. And it doesn't mean you need to be hyperactive and, you know, rushing around and, you know, running long distances. It's simply moving and moving naturally. Having a purpose in your life, and having the right outlook, downshift things. So, you know, stress is a big thing in our lives today, and a huge contributor to ill health. The 80% rule, which I'll talk a little bit about just now in terms of eating, and how the Japanese have shown us a good way to eat. Having a plant slant to our diet as well. And it doesn't mean being a vegetarian, but having a slant towards making sure you're eating enough vegetables and fruit. They also talk in the Blue Zones of the wine at 5, and I will qualify that a little bit more when I talk about each of the points directly. Then also the connections in life, which so many of us today are losing in terms of social media and many other areas. We don't realize the value and how important being part of the right tribe, having your tribe and a group of people that you relate to, making sure that loved ones in your life come first and remain in that space in your life. And then that we belong, you know, having our healthy social circles, which are absolutely necessary at the end of the day for long health. And, you know, studies and evidence has shown us that those things, in fact, extend your life. So what are these 9 lessons from the world's Blue Zones on living a long and healthy life? And, you know, Dan Buettner and them call it the power of 9. And they're all evidence-based. They've got lots of proof for this, and they've seen, I mean, doing a 12-year study, and he's gone back and re-looked at the whole thing again and reinforced it, particularly with the Netflix movie that you see now. A lot of that, they've gone back and they've re-looked and seen, is it still working? And it certainly is. The thing is to move naturally, and that's why I say it's something that becomes a core part of your lifestyle. This thing of the people walk, they're involved in their gardening, they do their own housework. And one big thing for me is this thing, you go to the malls and you find people who park in illegal parking to get as close to the thing as they must rather walk. It's actually those simple things which make a difference at the end of the day. And then having purpose, the Okinawans call it ikigai. And then the Koreans call it plan de vida, essentially knowing why you wake up in the morning. How many of us actually have a purpose in our life that we know why we get up in the morning, what it is we get up for? And, it's said to add somewhere in the region of 7 years extra to your life at the end of the day. We also need to downshift and stress. We underestimate just how much of a problem stress causes in our lives, and the ill health that it brings along with it. And all of us suffer stress, and stress in short periods is not a bad thing, but it's the chronic insistent consistent stress that we're under which causes the damage at the end of the day to all sorts of parts of our body and our overall health. The Adventists in the Loma Linda area, they pray. That's how they downshift. The Icarians in Greece, they nap. The Sardinians do the happy hour. So they have a social thing related to that end of the day, or partway through the day, where they have a happy hour. They'll have a glass of wine and they'll socialize and take things easy and reduce the stress. Then this Hara Hachibu, which is the 80% rule that the Japanese brought in, related to satiety. They have a thing that they only eat until they are 80% full and then stop, because it takes a bit of time also for your brain to clock in terms of, you're actually full. And in the majority, most of us, in actual fact, overeat. We eat too much at the end of the day. And that in itself is not a good thing for our body, because we're actually overworking things and, in itself causing damage and increasing toxicity and so on. Having a plant slant, as I say, doesn't mean being a vegetarian. No, we need to eat all of those things, the vegetables, the fruit, the whole grains. And as we with Neolife have that thing TRINN, which brings back and helps us get the real valuable parts of those back into our diet, which are taken out of most of our grains. Also, they chose to eat meat in small quantities, so they do eat. The whole thing of wine farm, again, wine or any alcohol needs to be done in moderation. If you're going to drink anything, drink red wine is generally better. But this resveratrol, which they say, does improve or help our cardiac system, you're going to have to drink a lot of wine to do that. So again, drink alcohol in moderation and recognize that today we have wines that have preservatives and additives. The traditional way in these areas, they don't have those things, and they're using organic, traditionally made wine. Also, they have this thing of belonging to some kind of faith-based community, which they find in actual fact adds literally another 14 years to their life. And, as I say, the Loma Lindans, they have a Seventh-day Adventist type of lifestyle, and a lot of it goes around their food. So they live healthy at the end of the day. Also, this thing of loved ones first, having close, strong family connections is vital to our health at the end of the day, and keeping the elderly within our communities. They not only are there to add wisdom, but they then remain active. And in most of these blue zones, these people are, say, 100 years and older, and they're just as with it as everybody else. They're still gardening. They're doing all of those things for themselves. They're not relying on everybody else to do it for them. And then the ninth one, being part of the right tribe, having close friends and strong social networks is so important, because there's so many valuable things that you can get from that. Just in terms of being able to offload problems, being able to share things. It's an absolutely vital part of these 9 lessons from the world's blue zones that is so important. So some of the evidence, just as a matter of interest, because a lot of people think that it's our genes which determine everything. You'll hear a lot of people say, well, it's genetic, and my father had it, all these kind of things. The interesting part is that studies like this Danish twin study, where they looked at I think they used about 20 sets of identical twins, putting them in different lifestyle environments, and trying to, so they had the same genetics, but they were in different environments. And they actually found that the minority of what added to their longevity was in fact the genetics. What added the majority to their longevity was in actual fact the lifestyle and environments that they were in. And this is what obviously is coming through with the blue zones, because people in the blue zones, it's a lifestyle. They're not actually trying to do anything different. They are healthy because that's what they do every single day of their lives. And that's how, why it is so important, is to do that and be consistent in doing that. Dan Buettner and them also in around about 2009 started this Blue Zone project, which Monica, I suppose, intimated to earlier, is that they set up that in different states in the US, they were imitating what was being done in the blue zones. So they were trying to bring those principles into their daily lives, and it was working. And there was a dramatic decrease in healthcare costs and so on. And in 3 Californian beach cities that they did this over a 5-year period, and they found that obesity, smoking, and health risks had dropped so dramatically that there was like a $12 million saving in terms of medical costs at the end of the day. And they've now got in the region of 42 blue zone projects across America. So what are the biggest or top causes of death in the world? And that's things like cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, and even in South Africa, those 3 pretty much the same, as well as things like TB, HIV, are things that cause death. And around 70% of the world's population are also overweight and obese, believe it or not. And that's as a result of the amount of carbs and sugar, or not good carbs that we're using. And health authorities around the world indicate that non-communicable diseases cause the majority of deaths and will continue to increase, as you can see from the chart on the right-hand side. Over 80% of illness is actually preventable, and that's the thing. It's lifestyle related in the majority. We can, in actual fact, prevent these things by applying things like the 9 principles of the blue zones. So from a health coaching perspective, what we look at is we look at preventative health, we look at lifestyle, we primarily look at how people eat, look at the blood sugar balancing, and trying to get the sugar in our diet as level as possible, so that we don't have the spikes and the damage that comes along with all the insulin and cortisol spike and dips that we have there. We take a holistic approach, and we look at all of the different things. We look at the stress, we look at sleep, we look at activity, we look at community and relationships that we have. And believe it or not, it may seem like a silly little thing of time management. Do you know how important that is? That contributes to so many other areas coming right in your life. We hold the people accountable, and we also enable them to overcome obstacles and help people find their answers. We don't always give the advice. We actual fact listen, and we try and help them get it right at the end of the day. So that's why effectively the 9 lessons of the blue zones, and also why they are so important at the end of the day. And in the lead up to this thing, I said I would look at 5 tips of how we can improve and make things better for ourselves. And one of the big things is this whole thing of denormalizing sugar. Remove sugars from our cupboards and read labels. You'll be surprised if you read labels carefully just how much sugar is contained in most of the foods that we eat. And you can do that obviously by either going cold turkey, or reducing and pulling out over a period of number of weeks or whatever. And then the other thing is eating the rainbow. Try and eat 5 different vegetables, and vegetables are so important because they act as a prebiotic. They improve your gut microbiome, and that in itself will improve your physical health, your weight, your mental well-being. And it works again by just looking at the different colors of the fruits, and it's not only the nutrient value, but also, as I say, the value from a gut health perspective. daily microfasts, and most people eat throughout the day until they go to bed. And we actually need to break this down into smaller patches where we're doing 12 hours or less that we're eating. The other time we're actually allowing our body to use the fat as energy instead of the sugar and stuff that we're eating. And that in itself promotes weight loss. And also this whole thing of cellular repair, immune system repair, and enabling our gut to clear and clean up at the end of the day. The other thing is drink more water. And most people hear this thing of drinking 2 or more liters of water. 1.2 liters of water is 2 liters of water is generally more than enough. And we don't need to overdo it, but just make sure you're properly hydrated at the end of the day. And then the last one is this thing of unprocessing your diet. Most of the foods that we eat today have labels as long as, you know, your arm. And the way I say it is that the only label that should be on the product is in fact the name of the label, because the long list of ingredients is just a collection of manufactured, normally nutrient poor, cheap industrial ingredients, which are giving nothing to your health at the end of the day, except causing problems and toxicity. Calories are actually not important as well. What is important is how you eat and what you eat. We talk about this thermogenic effect. So eating something that your body's got to work to digest, and in fact is better than not eating the calories at all. And that in itself will normalize your weight just by doing these simple things at the end of the day. So we need to look at lifestyle, not a diet, but at a lifestyle and how we eat over our lifestyle. Do it consistently, plan your meals, shop for the right meals so that you've got available what is healthy to eat, and at reach. What you'll then reach out to eat is what you've actually got that's healthy, that you've decided about and been mindful about keeping there. So yeah, that's effectively the blue zones, and you know, a fair amount to do with how we can in fact make our lives a heck of a lot healthier at the end of the day. As I said as well, you know, in the build up to this, if anybody wants that basic guideline in terms of nutrition, there's my email address. If you email me, I'll be very happy to send it to you. It's an amazing, simple little thing which will help you get going with these things and give you a really good outline. It's something that we produced and put together with simple tips and summarizes a fair amount of what I've already told you today. And the other thing, as I say, if you also want a free health assessment, I'm happy to do that for you. But email me. The email address is there, and yeah, we can have a look at that if we can help you with that. I hope that's been helpful, and I know I've gone fairly quickly, but I've got it within my time frame, and hopefully that will help and move us on to the next step.
Thank
Great.
you.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob. Wow. Well, I think I've learned a lot. I don't know about everybody else here, but I certainly have. And that's what I love about it all. It's constant learning as we go through our lives. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for that and for your offer for people who might be interested to know more. At this moment, we're going to move into a different section of our meeting, which we call an opportunity. And as a disclaimer, if anybody wants to leave at this stage, they're welcome to. If you want to hear a little bit more about Neolife and how it works, you are more than welcome to stay. Probably about another 5 to 8 or so minutes. Can I just please share, Rob? Let me go here. Let me try and find what I had for you. Just as we all develop our technical skills. Okay. Can you all see that?
Yep.
All right. So this week, I don't know who else heard it on the radio. I left a bit late to look it up, but there was a very horrifying stat that came out about the level of debt in our society here in South Africa. And so this is just, it's probably even gone up since then, that there are 10 million people who are 3 months or more behind in debt repayments, or who are facing legal action and adverse listings, according to Credit Bureau. So people are living in debt, and there are so many different ways that we can overcome this problem in our lives. So we, as distributors for the Neolife range, also have available this side hustle, which is a business opportunity for anybody who would like to use it. So what does any business need? It needs products, people, clients, marketers. So what Bob has been talking about is a lifestyle change. And with Neolife, we offer the possibility to integrate into your lifestyle 3 product ranges, a home care range, which is completely environmentally safe, a nutritional range, which is coming from whole food. You call it a food state, don't you, Bob? And has 66 years of experience and ongoing research into these food products, which integrate beautifully into a Blue Zone concept. And then we have the certified organic skincare, which is, of course, your skin is your biggest organ, and you want to make sure you're keeping the toxins out of that as well. So the business has 3 steps. The first one is Neolife does the research and all that stuff that goes on to produce a product. And then you can become a distributor and source the products for yourself. And you can start earning a little bit extra money immediately. The second step, if somebody doesn't want to do the business, they can decide to get a buying number, and through your person who has introduced you. And although you don't earn any profit on your selling, you do get a discount when you buy. And the third step is a customer decides to get a buying number through you, they get their wholesale sale price, and then this person can then upgrade and become a distributor as well, and then become somebody who retails and sells the products on. That's very, very simple explanation, and probably not 100% accurate, but I hope you get the gist of the idea that these products are not available in shops. They're only available through distributors and people who want to buy them for themselves at a wholesale price, either at a 20% or a 10%. And we welcome anybody in who would like to join us in getting these products, which I know for myself have made the most incredible difference to the health status of Rob and myself. And Bob, you and Andre and all of us here who are distributors know that this is the truth. So just to finish off, you should speak to the person who invited you here today, but I put the 3 little people up. I didn't manage to find the faces. But you get 3 kinds of people on this planet, according to one theory. The first one makes up 65%. And these people are waiters. They wait for things to happen to them. And it's not difficult to look around and you'll see who they are. They very much are sort of sitting and waiting and wondering why their lives don't improve. In the middle, you have a group of people called the Watchers, and those people are watching you. And they're watching everybody else around them and thinking, well, if that worked for them, maybe I'll do it. And they make up 30% of the population. But on the right-hand side, I've put you and me, the 5%, who are the people who say, well, you know, what the hell? I've got nothing to lose. Let's go for it, see what we can make of this. And these are the people who we look for in our business, people who would like to change their own lives and the lives of those around them, which also fits in with your Blue Zone thing, Bob, because it's community-based, it's concern, and it's purpose-filled. And along with the purpose of helping other people, you're helping yourself, and there are just so many huge advantages to it. So if you are interested, please speak to the person who invited you today. All right, Rob, I want to get out of this, so I'm going to go stop the share. Right, so thank you those of you who have stayed. We've still got 7 minutes. So Bob, are you open to any questions at this stage?
Sure, no problem. Yeah.
Anybody wanting to ask anything of any of us? Please, you can write it into the chat or just down your mute and talk to us. I want to ask, is there any significance that those zones are all on the equator.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. At the last presentation I did, exactly the same question was asked, and we've checked it out. There isn't really anything, and you know, the only thing that they looked at is certain of the areas where, you know, you and you'd think almost to be away from that, where you could have you know, food production in that area throughout the year because the weather's so good. But no, we can't find any correlation particularly.
Because if I can just put my little comment in, I'd be fascinated if they did some research up in the very, 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 very north of Limpopo, where they
Yeah.
are in the tropics.
Yes.
And I have come across in my wanderings around, there's some very, very old, healthy people.
Yeah.
And they are doing all those things, growing their own food, etc.
And
Any
that's the
more
thing.
questions? Yes,
Yes,
Bob?
please.
Andre?
Bob, thank you very much. That was very interesting. What I would like you to do, if you can, just for a minute or so, is to explain how people would integrate the Neolife products into their Blue Zone lifestyle. And those of us who use it know quite well, I for one, that because of our rather artificial lifestyles, we aren't able to grow our own veggies in perfect environments, etc. We're constrained by lifestyle that's put onto us from above. And that is why we go to something like the Neolife supplements, just to fill the gaps that we are surely suffering from, which people in those rural old-fashioned type communities do not suffer from. So if you could just comment on that, I'd be grateful.
I think that's and also what, okay, well, that's what I do as well, is that, you know, the thing is, because we most of us can't get hold of, you know, decently foods with good nutrient content, and that's the biggest, I suppose, one of the biggest problems. You know, organic food is generally expensive and difficult to get hold of, and the other thing of growing your own food is often quite difficult. So I and all of us, I think, you know, this question of supplement, do we supplement or don't we? And the thing is, it's often very vital to, because you can either choose to battle to try and find all of those different things, or use some of these supplements. And as Monica intimated earlier as well, you know, the supplements are food state, or they're generated from the food. They have all of the different excipients in them. It's not as if you're having a synthesized single, you know, it's like vitamin C only. Anything that we have with vitamin C has the other ingredients that are in the plant itself, that in actual fact come in the tablet, and they're absolutely the highest quality. So again, you're going to get the value as if you're eating food at the end of the day, good food. And that's why, you know, using supplements like the Neolife, I use on a daily basis. You know, I use a whole range of things to make sure that my immunity is strong. You know, I will use the TNN. You know, I'm using you know, Omega Plus. I use the zinc, all of those different things which actually, you know, add to that. And it's vital, because we can't get them generally out of the food that we get around us, because it is so refined and difficult to get the best quality nutrient rich food.
Awesome, excellent. Yeah, and I think you've summed it up very nicely there, Bob. These are supplements. They supplement what we are eating. And if we follow those guidelines and drop our sugar intake, Monica, we will start moving into the blue zone. So, but I think it's that supplement idea that people are not necessarily getting, that, you know, you've got to carry on eating, but there's so much missing that we need to be putting that extra in. So we're coming to the end. I'm going to pull it through to a close. It's been awesome to have the visitors. Thank you so much, Ian, Warwick, Sianda, Inkiama, Tina, Meryl, Eugenia, Monica Dube. We really appreciate your coming. We will send out the recording in the next half hour or so, and it'll be available on our YouTube channel. And Bob, thank you. Strength to your arm. And thank you, everybody, for coming. We really, really appreciate it, and wishing you all a wonderful, warm weekend. Thank you, Bob. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks very much. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Lots of love to everybody. Thank you. See you next week if you want to come again. Same time, same place.
Good
Thank
tribe
you.
to belong to.
We're a fantastic tribe. Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
bye. Cheers. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Rob, you can stop the recording.